Watching Rwanda Television, it is my pleasure to welcome you to this edition of the news in English. We'll begin with the headlines. The African Conference on Agricultural Technology has continued here in Kigali, with the continent's young people urged to see themselves as frontline participants in the fight against food insecurity. Russian forces have launched a prolonged attack on Ukraine's second-largest city, killing at least 3 people and injuring dozens, including 9 children. And the US and China say they've agreed on a framework to get a trade truce reached last month back on track. Now straight to the details. Following the liberation struggle and the end of the genocide against the Tutsi here in Rwanda, the country put significant effort into achieving self-reliance instead of depending on foreign aid for survival. Analysts have been noting on the considerable progress the country has now made in financing its own national budget, crediting it to strong leadership and effective economic development strategies. William Evans Mutabazi with more on that.
The idea of self-reliance isn't just echoed in leaders' speeches, it's also enshrined in Rwanda's constitution. From Vision 2020 to Vision 2050, and through various government programs designed to implement those visions, the journey towards self-sufficiency in national budgeting has become increasingly evident each year. The 2014-2015 national budget, which totaled to 1,750 billion Rwandan francs, of which 660 billion, accounting for 38%, came from foreign aid. In contrast, the 2023-2024 budget amounted to over 569 billion Rwandan francs, with 83.2% funded domestically by Rwandans and only 12.7% coming from external aid. On this, economic analysts say that increased reliance on foreign aid in a national budget can have negative implications for a country's development. Aid and external loans come with terms and conditions. Sometimes these conditions and terms do not align well with the country's priorities. This is a common issue. But also, when a country is able to finance a big portion of its budget, that is the only way a country can look at aid and loans as an additional source because it can afford taking care of its citizens and protect its own economy. Our ambition as a country should be at least increasing this ability to around 95% domestic funding to our budget. With Rwanda's public spending continuing to rise and most of it being funded locally, analysts further note that this is a positive outcome of previous investments and strategic development efforts made over the years. This started from horticulture, now we are into the service sector, sports, and hosting big events. The more a country increases its sources of revenue, the more it increases its capacity to fund its own budget without having to rely on the foreign aid and loans. I think this is good progress, and we can do more because it is possible. Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Dr. Edouard Ngirente, remarked that the country's development should go hand in hand with the well-being of citizens.
Rwanda remains committed to such as energy, water, sanitation and healthcare systems. These strategic investments are designed to strengthen essential infrastructure and improve access to services that improve the quality of life for all citizens. By focusing on this to benefit from economic development.
The draft for 2025-2026 national budget proposes 7,3,200.5 billion to be largely invested in projects aimed at improving citizens' lives and long-term national development, and a significant portion of this budget will be raised domestically, which further affirms the positive steps Rwanda continues to make in the journey towards national budget self-reliance. William Evans, RTV News.
The plenary session of the Chamber of Deputies in Parliament has approved the principle of the draft law concerning compensation payments resulting from accidents. This law will address many gaps, including providing equal compensation to people involved in accidents caused by vehicles or animals, offering damages to parents of a child under the age of 16 who was injured or died, among others, as explained by Stephen Biganiro, the Director General in the Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning.
I think with the previous laws, the law concerning compensation for injuries caused by animals and injuries caused by motor vehicles. We really had quite a number of complaints, and one of those that people injured by animals could be compensated differently from those injured by motor vehicles. So what this law comes to solve is to harmonize, and we have similar compensations for people that have been injured either by animals or by motor vehicles. So that's one of the complaints that we've been experiencing, that this law is coming to solve. The other issue again was the issue of children under 16 not being compensated, and we've also been having this complaint that is really unfair, and it is understood that children that are below 16 are not working, and so the compensation is always based on your salary, and by law children are not supposed to be working. Which was previously showing that children are not supposed to be compensated, but now with this law, children are, I wouldn't say they are going to be compensated, but their parents will be, I don't know how I can call it, well, we'll say compensation, but not compensation based on salaries, because children under 16 are not supposed to be working. So, but their parents will be compensated. I think the other issue that this law is coming to solve are the liability scales that we've been using. We've been using a scale from Belgium, and with this law now, we are looking at the Ministry of Health coming up with the disability scale that is in the context of Rwanda, and that is commensurate with everything that is happening within our country, given different factors that are based on to determine the disability scale. So these are one of the issues or complaints that we've been having that this law is coming to solve. We've been using especially for those people that are not salaried, the basic amount that has been used comes back, I think, on the law that was put in place in 1975. And if you look at this, today it is not commensurate to what is happening, given a lot of things that have changed, economic factors, inflation that is happening. But again, that salary has increased for those non-salaried people. If you look at their daily pay or earnings, it has been increased, because previously we've been using 1,400, and now from the complaints that we've been having, this will change from 1,400, and then we will consider the non-taxable salary or the taxable salary at 0%, which is currently 60,000. And in any case, if this changes, of course we will change to that, given different factors that are happening. So that's also a key component that changed within this law.
The Minister of Agriculture and Animal Resources, Dr. Mark Chubahiro Bagabe, has emphasized that young people must see themselves as frontline players in the fight against food insecurity across Africa. Adam Squizera with the details.
The use of AI in agriculture was highlighted by several youth participants at the Africa Conference on Agriculture Technology as a key solution for the future of the sector.
AI is currently trending. A lot of things right now, even here in Africa, we have a lot of various aspects where we are even integrating AI. And I believe as youths, we are into trending topics, trending things, trending technologies, and AI is among the things. So I believe there is a possibility, there is a chance. Let us not be scared of AI. Let us take the risk and see where it leads us. take the risk and see where it leads us.
To our ask, we are asking for...
However, some participants pointed out that while innovative ideas exist, turning them into actions remains a challenge, primarily due to difficulties in accessing financial support.
The problem that is there is that there is no real-time monitoring and real-time spraying of pesticide. So there is a reactive way of spraying pesticide where we wait until the pests have already entered the field. They are eating nearly half of the farmer's produce, and then we want to spray pesticide. But this is already a loss, a pre-harvest loss. If you lose a half of your plantation, another person loses a third of their plantation, it has got cumulative repercussions on the total market when we go to buy food on the market. So we are providing a solution, a machine vision-based agriculture drone that can spray pesticide in real time, reducing the time and also reducing the time incurred by the farmer.
Lucia Zigiriza, head of partner engagement at AGRA, emphasized the need for stronger collaboration between financial institutions and development partners to ensure youth entrepreneurs in agriculture can secure funding to implement their projects.
We have special sessions for youth, and these included business, building their capacity in terms of the technical know-how they need to be able to pitch, not only that, even to be able to know the different key aspects that investors have interest in. So they participated in that capacity building session. It was dedicated for youth, and they also had a session which was today, the B2B session, which gave them an opportunity to pitch their business ideas to different partners who were here today. These included financial institutions, it included development partners and investors. We wanted these youth who have innovations, as you have seen, some have made drones, they've developed drones here in Rwanda locally, others have developed egg incubators locally, so they have different innovations, others are doing value addition. So looking at all of these innovations, it was good that we gave them an opportunity to showcase their innovations.
Ngabo Brav, Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Youth and Arts, noted that the government of Rwanda has already put in place permanent mechanisms and programs aimed to support youth engaged in modern agriculture and livestock.
Mostly what we do is to keep on encouraging the youth, especially the one who went to the university and learned a thing or two about the agriculture, to actually come and become the entrepreneurs, so they also create the jobs. What we mostly do is to encourage them, to tell them to put themselves together, like in different cooperatives, so they can get access to finance easily. Also the capacity of doing the know-how. We encourage the young people, especially the one interested into agriculture, to put themselves together. So we help them, whether on the side of Ministry of Youth and Arts or with together with partners, as you see in Agri here. Part of what we do, we have a program that is AgriConnect, where we do we get pitching from the youth, the entrepreneurs into agriculture. Then they can get an award winning up to 20 million that is going to help them to keep on expanding and scaling up their business into agriculture. So mostly is more of putting them together, showing the youth the opportunity that is into this kind of business, plus the tech part that is where the world is and where the world is heading.
Agriculture experts across Africa continue to affirm that the sector remains a backbone of the continent's economy, employing over 60% of its population and contributing 23% of the Africa's gross domestic product GDP. Adam Squizera, RwandaTV News.
Those who closely follow the implementation of the principle of gender equality and complementarity between men and women in the country's development say that some private institutions do not respect workers' rights, especially those of women. There are private institutions, however, that have put in place measures to promote their staff with attention to the specific needs of each individual. This has enabled both men and women working there to operate in a free and comfortable environment, making them less likely to want to change jobs. Experts appreciate appreciate the progress that has been made in terms of labor laws here in Rwanda. However, they say that there is a need for specific measures related to monitoring the implementation of the principle of gender equality among workers in certain sectors, including private institutions. The country's chief gender monitor says that the government will continue to support private institutions to uphold this principle because it is crucial for the country's development.
It is very important that as we have started this journey of gender equality sale, now transitioning to the RS 500 2023 gender equality standards, we call all private but also public institutions to embrace this journey as it has proven to be very beneficial, being to the workers but also to the institution itself. We've seen and you have seen it in the testimonies of the companies that have already acquired the gender equality seal. They have testified the benefits in terms of company workplaces that are inclusive, that are more productive, but also very much inclusive. I would insist on the inclusivity and also being accountable and being accountable to the gender equality seal, the gender equality principle. That is a principle that is a constitutional principle that should be respected by the public sector, the private sector, but also everyone. So I really call private sector institutions, as we're embarking on this new journey with the RSB, to not think that anything is changing or there is a journey that is ending. Rather, we are starting a new process that is more seeing the gender equality standards more institutionalized and not stopping to be a project and a program, but more an institutional and public policy requiring all the institutions to adhere and respect and be gender accountable as it is required by our constitution, as I said.
Gender Monitoring Office has commended employers who have voluntarily taken steps to promote the principle of gender equality within their organizations. Now to Harare, Zimbabwe, where on Thursday and Friday a summit is being held that brings together professionals and experts in the field of microfinance institutions. It is a two-day summit called the Microfinance Technology Summit, where participants are discussing ways to further promote the use of technology in service delivery within such financial institutions across Africa. Rwanda is the usual organizer of the event, which was held here in 2023 and 2024. This year marks the first time that the Microfinance Technology Summit is being hosted outside Rwanda.
So myself, I'm very, very excited because one, I've been to Rwanda myself to see how we can benefit. And here they are bringing others. And I'll even tell you that we are going to have a winter school in August in Kigali, so that we do again a look and learn. We are going to see in detail how microfinance in Rwanda is progressing, where we can copy and paste.
Today, technology is playing a very critical role in banking, in microfinance. So all these organizations need a technology partner that can help them, provide them the technology so they can compete, they can grow, not only in their own country, but perhaps continent-wise or global-wise.
In Rwanda, 4% of adults do not engage with financial institutions, while across Africa, there are 400 million people who do not work with financial institutions at all. Globally, it is estimated that 1.7 billion people do not have a bank account. This summit, organized by the Association of Microfinance Institutions in Rwanda, is being attended by leaders of various financial institutions from across Africa, central bank officials from different countries, policymakers, investors in financial and technology sectors, and many other participants.
During life's moments, laying hoops, breakfast with family. Inyanje is always there. Whatever the occasion, whatever the moment, always ask for Inyanje.
Nyiri muto arababwiraga data bati ntabwo wagira umukamo mwinshi utunze inka imwe, ariko nigeze acika intege. Mama akinjira mu bucuruzi hari abamubwiraga bati ntabwo watera imbere udakorera mu iduka rigezweho, ariko ntibyamusubije inyuma, yakoranaga umwete. Njya muri kaminuza hari abanshidikanyagaho bavuga ko nashobora kaminuza naturuka mu muryango wifashije, ariko byaragiye nanditse amateka mashya. Igihe cyo gutera ishema umuryango wanjye kigeze, bamwe bakomeje kumbwira bati ntabwo watera umuryango wawe ibyishimo n'ishema, ariko narabishoboye. Hari abakekaga ko nasigira umurage ukomeye abankomokaho, ariko ubu mfite uruganda rutunganya amata. Banki ya Kigali yabaye umufatanyabikorwa wanjye mu rugendo rwose, inzozi zanjye ziba impamo. Bigereho.
Russian forces have launched a prolonged attack on Ukraine's second-largest city, Kharkiv, killing at least 3 people and injuring dozens, including 9 children. The Air Force says Russia flew 85 drones into Kharkiv and other targets. Almost half were intercepted. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has reiterated his plea for greater international pressure on Moscow. Al Jazeera reports.
Another night of Russian drone strikes and more civilian casualties lifted into ambulances as their apartments burn.
There was a fire. I smelled smoke and got out. I didn't have a chance to take any documents or money. There was a lot of smoke. It was impossible to stay in the smoke and look for anything.
Kharkiv's mayor said 2 districts of Ukraine's second-largest city were hit.
Kharkiv is under attack yet again. 17 Shahed drones hit the city. As of now, 3 5-story apartment blocks are damaged. Private dwellings and industrial enterprises were also hit.
The attack comes as Russia steps up its nightly bombing of targets in cities across Ukraine. Moscow has vowed to respond to intensifying strikes by Ukraine, which Kyiv says are focused on hitting military targets deep inside Russia. Russia's defense ministry said 32 Ukrainian drones were intercepted overnight. Both sides deny targeting civilians. Russia says its forces have begun to cross from Donetsk into the neighboring heavily industrial region of Dnipropetrovsk. This is something that Ukraine denies, but there are fears that Russia is either trying to set up a buffer zone or is planning to push further forward out of the 4 regions that it partly controls and that it wants Ukrainian forces to withdraw from. Russia also wants international recognition of those 4 regions plus Crimea, and that is something that Ukraine and its Western allies have flatly refused time and time again. Charles Strafford, Al Jazeera, Kyiv.
The US and China say they've agreed on a framework to get a trade truce reached last month back on track. However, there is no sign of an end to a growing dispute that's led to tariffs and export controls after talks in London. Negotiators from both sides say they will take the agreed framework back to their leaders for approval. Al Jazeera once more.
The talks ran late into the night on Monday here in London, and once the 2 delegations emerged, they announced that they had agreed on a framework on how to implement a consensus they had already agreed about a month ago in Geneva during the first round of these talks. But this framework will still need to be approved by their leaders in Beijing and in Washington. And while neither side went into the detail of what this deal entails, the U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick indicated that it would include a rollback on export controls that both countries had implemented on each other. Now, the U.S. had been accusing China of being slow to lift some export restrictions on rare earth minerals and magnets that it had implemented back in April in the wake of U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs. Now, these materials are crucial to the production of smartphones, of car parts, of defense systems across the world, and China has a near monopoly on their production. Now, for their part, China wants the US to lift their own export restrictions on high-tech goods, especially in the areas of artificial intelligence and semiconductors. Beijing also expressed a lot of frustration over much tighter visa rules on Chinese students. So the two sides are talking, which is positive, but what's at stake here is huge. These are the world's two largest economies, and if they resume their trade war, well, that will have knock-on effects on countries and economies across the world. Milena Veselinovic, Al Jazeera, London.
Before we conclude this edition of the news, let us again take a look at the headlines. The African Conference on Agricultural Technology has continued here in Kigali, with the continent's young people being urged to see themselves as frontline participants in the fight against food insecurity. Russian forces have launched a prolonged attack on Ukraine's second-largest city, killing at least 3 people and injuring dozens, including 9 children. And the US and China say they have agreed on a framework to get a trade truce reached last month back on track. As always, I'm glad you are able to join us for this edition. Stay with Rwanda Television as the programs continue, and I'll be seeing you soon. Goodbye.
Thank you.